When Arkham Asylum came out, having Joker be the main villain was a complete no-brainer, and having him voiced by Mark Hamill only further cemented that decision as a solid, of course, why wouldn't you? And it made sense that he'd be a major player in the sequel, Arkham City, because why the hell would Joker just sit one game out if he was in the vicinity of everything going on? Of course, Arkham City's plot did have some problems. Like, for example, that big reveal at the end, where the main villain behind everything wasn't Hugo Strange, but instead was a guy you had already successfully beaten up like 4 hours ago. Kinda took the impact out of it. And then to tie it all off, Joker slides in at the end and reveals he's been manipulating Batman the whole game so he can put himself back on top after everyone else has either exploded or died of a horrible disease. Then it kinda doesn't go so well for him. It was a bold decision to kill off Batman's main villain, and it was probably the best ending for all 4 of these games. I'd also like to note that with the sudden influx of character deaths, it was apparent that the Arkham games were now in their own universe, and that thing that I liked about Arkham Asylum is now null and void. Then Arkham Origins comes along and sells us with the fact that it's Batman versus a whole mess of various DC assassins and bad guys, only to have that fizzle out about halfway through when the main villain pulls his mask off and says, "Hey everyone, you're not allowed to have a Batman story without me, apparently." So Joker is the villain of the first game, is basically the villain of the second game, then shows up and steals the spotlight as the villain in the third game, and then in the fourth game, he's the main villain. Even after he died? I think this just demonstrates the weak writing that a lot of Batman stories suffer from. They tend to always suddenly forget that he has such a huge rogues gallery. If someone once had the gall to say, Batman has all the best villains, why can't we get any of that in these games? It's like everyone else is just a B-lister that's only worthy of being Batman's grocery list of extra bullshit in between chasing the Joker. Arkham City even had that weird plot with Hush using stolen human faces to look like Bruce Wayne. We can't make a whole story out of that? Just a minor scuffle in an office where no one gets killed? Okay then. Paul Dini left the series and none of the new writers cared enough to try something new and different. It's a brand new universe with no baggage from the comics or continuity to dance around. They had a perfect clean slate and a ton of possibilities for new avenues to explore in a Gotham without the Joker. Then they loosely adapted a comic story and shoved Joker into it, even when it made no sense and all it did was serve a contrived function in the plot. Joker being Batman's Tyler Durden is an interesting concept at least, but its place in the story is to effectively handicap Batman when faced with villains he would mop the floor with on any other day. Not to mention his entire existence as an imaginary friend for Bruce seems to be just because. Batman gets a dose of Scarecrow's fear toxin, and instead of putting him into a nightmarish drug trip wonderland, like it always does, it makes him manifest the Joker as an alternate personality. If there was any way to have all the tension in a scene disappear instantly, it would be to have Mark Hamill's Joker voice coming out of Batman's mouth.
Look at me! I'm amazing!
So fuck consistency, he's a fear toxin-induced fever dream. Fine. But the B-plot of the game decides to offer an additional reason for him being there. And that's because Batman is slowly turning into the Joker.
You're the last Joker.
Why? Because fuck consistency! Joker was dying in Arkham City because he pumped himself full of the Titan formula and it turned him into this. I'm no doctor, but I can tell you whatever chemicals used to make a person into that are not exactly going to be the healthiest things to have in your blood. So Joker is a mangled mess after the superroids because his ribs are literally hanging out of him, and he decides to donate a ton of his poisoned blood to both Batman and Gotham's hospitals. The Titan formula was what made him and Batman so sickly. Not just that it was Joker's blood. In fact, Joker's blood should be fine on its own. Aside from his looks, he's just a human being. The chemicals at the factory changed his skin pigment and hair color when he fell in. It's not like he was bitten by a radioactive clown. So Arkham Knight, the game, informs us that for no reason at all, Joker's blood is now making a few random people turn into him. Wait, what? Why? Let's think about that for a second. Joker's entire personality and complexion can be recreated by a botched blood transfusion? Gee, that kinda undermines the whole one bad day thing if it's all based on genetics. Or wait, that undermines the entire appeal of the Joker as a character if he can be just duplicated that easily. Does that mean that Joker's mental problems aren't real and are just a side effect of the chemicals? Okay, if the toxic blood gives you mental problems, why is it so specific as to make you an angry anarchist who wants to murder and or sleep with Batman? Why did the poison in the Titan formula not kill these people as opposed to the hundreds that it did kill?
Before it killed him, Joker sent his infected blood out to all the hospitals in the state.
I know, we tracked it all down.
We missed some.
If Batman drank the cure that is literally made from the fountain of youth, would that not just mean he's fine? Why doesn't that work anymore? At the end of the game, when Batman conquers his fears of becoming the Joker, did that somehow magically cure him of turning white and green? Even if he beat the mental aspects of this stupid disease, won't he still have to deal with the physical aspects of... You know what, never mind. This story decides to make so many unjustifiable leaps in logic that asking real questions about it is only wasting time. However, I am an expert at wasting time. Gee, I need to figure out where they could possibly be producing factory-sized quantities of this dangerous chemical. Oh look, this spy plane and scanner equipment told me it's the local chemical factory. World's greatest detective, everyone! The Joker being here is an overcomplicated way to disguise the fact that both the main villains are as interesting as drywall and have about as much motivation to destroy the city and kill Batman too. Scarecrow went from being his usual sniveling one-note self to being an unusual one-note self.
I am in complete control.
Instead of just being a weird henchman who gets off on the concept of fear, he suddenly decides he wants to be the God King of the world and flood the country with his fear gas. And he wants to tear down the image of Batman and ruin his life. And he wants to destroy Gotham. And he wants to be the ruler of Gotham. After he destroys it, I guess. All this because his face got mangled by Killer Croc one time. I mean, if it was a simple revenge plot, you'd think he'd be more angry at Croc than, say, everyone else? Like, Croc is in the city. He's right over there. You have the men and resources to go murder him super hard as payback for your face. No, it's Batman's fault? Okay. Wait. What the hell did Scarecrow have to gain from pretending to refrigerator Barbara Gordon? How the hell did he know the fear toxin would make it look like she killed herself anyway? How the hell does he know what specifically Batman would be hallucinating from the fear toxin? What if Bruce's nightmare was that him and Barbara just had sex on a rooftop instead? It was a really bad idea to imply that the Justice League exists in this universe, because even if Batman loses, Superman or the Flash will probably end up taking down Scarecrow anyway, so his lording over the ruins of Gotham won't last long. I'd give it 2 days max. Which reminds me, let's take a moment to really run through Scarecrow's plan, shall we? He'll produce enough fear gas in the Ace Chemicals plant to destroy the city, which is now totally vacant, save for his own soldiers and whichever random criminals decide to stick around. Really, the only people who don't deserve getting gassed are the cops. One police station worth of people a world domination plan does not make, buddy. So after this inevitably fails miserably, the game starts telling you of his evil, dastardly plan to use a device to blanket the city in fear gas. But this was just like a backup plan? What if Batman hadn't destroyed the Ace Chemicals building? Would they just not even use the cloudburst? I guess I appreciate that Johnny C over here is being proactive and thinking ahead, but the narrative seems to play it off like this was his plan all along. So was he just hoping the Ace Chemicals thing would fall through and wasted all that time setting that up for nothing? How about this? Scarecrow attempts to blow the Ace Chemicals building and have Batman come and stop him. But while he's doing this, across town in the district that's already controlled by Arkham Knight's militia, activate the cloudburst and Batman can't do shit to stop it. Even better, protect that island with all the tanks you have, so that the Batmobile would get annihilated if it set even one wheel on the bridge. Oh, I'm sorry, being effective isn't the same as being spooky and savoring revenge or whatever.
We both know fear is theatrics, Batman.
Scarecrow and Arkham Knight, the person, not the game, are both ultimately undone by their obsession with stupid theatrics. They have all these resources at the ready, and they continue waiting to use any of them until after Batman just got done trashing the last round of new tricks up their sleeve. If they just threw everything at him at once, he wouldn't have any time to adapt and the game would be over in an hour. Who fucking cares if Gotham sees Batman fail, or if his crusade is ruined? Everyone's been evacuated and the only people who would see it up close are criminals who are minutes away from biting their own tongues out because you dropped super LSD on them. Jesus, who wrote this? Ho ho ho, stay off the streets, the floor is lava. Actually, wait, this reminds me of something. Then again, the Arkham Knight is the second title character and feels like a complete afterthought. I swear, his entire character was written around getting the word Arkham in the title. Jason is a dumbass who does nothing the whole game except talk about how he'll eventually do things, but then just kinda not get around to it. That's right, if you have eyeballs, you've been spoiled on the fact that Jason Todd is the Arkham Leto. I mean the Jared Knight. So according to this game's universe, Jason was kidnapped by the Joker and taken to an old abandoned wing of Arkham Asylum to be tortured for months before being fake killed. For some reason, Batman's having flashbacks to events he wasn't even there for.
A regular dynamic duo! Just like Bats and that new kid of his.
No, you wouldn't.
You think? So, this isn't Batman then?
This scene implies that he had assumed Jason was dead by this point already and got a new Robin, which means he's imagining a scenario where he thought Jason was dead, but knew he wasn't by virtue of having this flashback at all? And he still can't figure out who the Arkham Knight is?
The Arkham Knight.
So then we're treated to a death scene for Jason, in which he's shot in a video that Batman watches and then never follows up on out of plot convenience. You mean to tell me that Batman never went looking for Jason and just took the video as evidence enough that he was a goner? Well, at the very least, he could have went to go get the body and give the poor kid a proper burial. The real slap in the face about this is that if Jason died in a room of Arkham Asylum, why on earth would Batman not have gone looking for him? In the comics, Jason is beaten and killed in Africa, and he still goes to find him. Now they say it happened down the street from his house and he didn't even bother? You dickhead. Instead of dying right off, Jason was tortured for months and mentally programmed to hate Batman, I guess.
My name is Jason Todd.
Who do you hate?
Batman.
Instead of use this for something and say, turn Jason into a Joker sidekick to hurt Batman's feelings, Mr. J shoots him in the shadowed region and then does a classic Joker sign-off. Did Joker just miss and assume this was a kill shot before leaving to go do other stuff? Did he actually plan to fake Jason's death? How did Jason get out of this situation and go scour the earth for a $4 billion anti-Batman army? Where did he get that money? Has he ever been to college? Jesus, who wrote this? I think what pisses me off most about Arkham Knight, the person, is that he's such a half-assed adaptation of his awesome comic counterpart. They butchered his character so monumentally. The appeal of Red Hood is that he represents the flaws in Batman's philosophy and is one of the few characters in the DC universe who can make a legitimate argument against Batman. The fact that Batman never killed the Joker, or anyone for that matter, is kind of shocking when you find out his adopted son was tortured and beaten to death to prove a point. Jason Todd has every right to be angry that the Joker is still walking the streets and killing people on a daily basis, because it shows less of a moral integrity in Batman and more of just a weakness that anyone could exploit. His fear of crossing the line goes from being noble and heroic to more of a character flaw. But nah, that's too interesting. Jason should just be mad at him.
I want you dead.
Hey look, that's a great opportunity to kill Batman. Or wait, never mind, he's just gonna listen to Scarecrow and give up for no reason. Okay, this is an even better situation. Batman's got a bullet in his abdomen, he's on the ground helpless, he's surrounded by 500 armed men. Just empty that pistol into his jaw and spray his face all over the back of his cowl. Or just not do it, okay? What about now when you have two guns pointed out? Oh, forget it. In a world where pretty much everyone thinks Batman killed the Joker, Jason's character doesn't have much of a leg to stand on. And it's made even worse when he tries to explain his anger and only comes off as sounding like an idiot.
You had so many chances to kill him. It's your fault Joker got to me!
Every good argument he could make is gone. Every interesting angle on his morality is gone. He is totally fine with killing thousands of people and allying himself with a faceless terrorist.
Stop! Stop talking to me!
They made him a whiny teen brat who turns evil, wears a clunky robot suit, hates his old mentor for no reason, and hangs out with a hooded figure with a deformed face. Oh my god. He's Anakin Skywalker in Episode 3! This really does have the writing of a Star Wars prequel. Okay, we've established that the villains make no sense and are complete idiots, but let's talk about the dumbest one of the bunch. It's Batman. He's the dumbest villain. For whatever reason, this game forces him to make every wrong decision imaginable. And it's not done in a way that shows Batman's humanity and vulnerability. He's just acting like an asshole. I think all things considered, Tim Drake probably hates his guts after everything that happened. One of the strange things Batman seems to be doing all night is telling everyone how dire the situation is and how this will be the last time they meet after he helps with their side mission.
This is the end. This is the last time we meet.
Don't talk like that.
It means this is the end, Selina. It means we can't.
I will see you again, right?
No one will.
But I can't help but ask, why the hell does Batman think tonight's the night when it all goes up in flames? I mean, Arkham Knight and Scarecrow are kind of bad at their job, and he doesn't exactly seem to be showing a ton of symptoms of turning into Bat Joker other than the eye color. In fact, a slight turn of events, and the entire ending could be avoided, and Batman could continue his life unabated with everything going just fine. This is it. This is the worst ending to a game since Mass Effect 3. I know that's a bold statement, but I'll stick to it. After Batman succeeds in taking down pretty much everything in his path, as per his custom, the thrilling climax to World of Tanks Batman Edition is that Scarecrow is by himself in a room with a gun and 2 hostages. Okay. This is Batman we're talking about. I'm not one of those guys who overhypes Batman to death and says he can beat anybody ever, but this is one of the times where I feel like he could probably handle it.
There's a storage depot in Kingston. Go there alone, or your friends will die.
Dick.
Scarecrow has Batman go to this shady-ass warehouse and leave behind his utility belt under threat of executing Jim and Tim. Batman doesn't need his utility belt to get out of rough situations, it just helps. The suit is filled to burst with lockpicks and secret components and pockets. Not to mention probably a dozen types of tracking devices to let Alfred, Nightwing, and Robin know where he is. So forget all that, the utility belt makes the man. Without it, he is nothing. Batman has a long, weird spirit journey in the back of the truck, and by the time he gets to the ruins of Arkham Asylum, all that's left to oppose him is Scarecrow holding a gun. In the middle of this hazy transition, Batman had to consciously let Scarecrow strap him to a gurney while he's holding a gun in one hand and a glove of syringes in the other. Someone please, for the love of God, explain this to me. Oh, the humanity! If only Batman was some kind of expert escape artist and could figure out a dozen ways to break his mighty bonds. If only he had some kind of special move to swipe Scarecrow's gun away and take him down in one swift motion. Oh God, he's so helpless, someone do something! To coin a phrase. What are you, dense? Are you retarded or something? Who the hell do you think I am? I'm the goddamn Batman. The reason the ending of Mass Effect 3 pisses people off, or one of the many reasons anyway, is that Shepard suddenly forgets how to talk his way through a situation. If there's one thing he's been an absolute expert at all the way to this point, it's convincing people to do things for him or agree with his perceptions. And right when he would need that most, in the darkest hour of the whole series, he just forgets how to do all that because he's tired and injured. So instead of convince the Reapers to just leave and go fly into the sun or something, he acts like a huge bitch and goes along with whatever the Star Child suggests. I think you see what I'm getting at here. This ending makes Batman just flat out give up and let a B-list villain destroy him. Do you know why he gives up? It's not for any good reason. It's because Rocksteady was tired of making Batman games.
This is how the Batman died.
You don't have that as the opening line of the game, if you plan to make a dozen sequels. Batman himself acts incredibly out of character and borderline suicidal because he has as little regard for his future now as the developers do. They let their feelings about the series bleed into the story. This is only a Batman loses scenario because they wanted to make it clear that they're done and want to go work on other things. The Dark Knight movie series did something similar, but they didn't have all the characters become dangerously incompetent to create this situation. They just built a wall around Batman's main character powers and let it fade out more naturally. I'm not saying you can't tell a story where Batman effectively ends. They've done that a few times, actually. I'm saying you can't do it in such an insulting way. And I'm not saying this game completely sidesteps any interesting themes or character growth, but when the circumstances surrounding those are so pants-on-head stupid, it's hard to take them seriously. Batman succumbs to his weird mind trip with the Joker for a bit and soon figures out a way to overpower his personal boogeyman. Cool, fine, whatever. Where the hell are any of his friends?
Nightwing, make your way to my location now.
Nightwing and Catwoman are both in the city right now doing their own thing. Remember in Arkham City when Bruce gets trapped under a pile of debris while the city crumbles outside? And Catwoman had a change of heart and went back to go save him instead of Bale? It tied up the two plots nicely and gave her a greater purpose in the story than just being filler. Even if you didn't free her yet in this game before this, Nightwing is still out there doing nothing except searching for suspicious looking white vans. And if this takes place after you beat both of their side missions, then two people who care about Batman a lot, his lover and his son, both hear him saying cryptic shit about how he's going to die tonight. Neither of them are concerned enough to follow up on that.
I won't let you down.
Thanks, Dick. I appreciate it.
So instead of the logical option, we get Jason Todd swooping in to save the day a whole 5 minutes too late. Why the fuck did he even bother coming back here? Him and Batman never really made amends, he just beat him up and said sorry.
I'm sorry.
That was enough for Jason to pull a complete 180 and go save him? Man, if only his problems were always solved this easily. Hell, he could just go up to Two-Face and apologize for mangling both halves of his head and Harvey would return to a life of politics. Well, Batman is outed and his life is over, I guess, because everyone gave up. So after 19 hours of grinding on the side missions, he mysteriously stumbles into his house, it explodes on live television, and then a bat person, presumably using fear toxin, shows up in the epilogue to gobble up some criminals. Congratulations, everybody! This is what this entire award-winning series was building up to. Was it all worth it? I also took the clip off of YouTube instead of getting it myself because Riddler trophies. God, what a mess. I'm surprised more people aren't tearing their hair out with anger at how this game turned out. Yeah, the DLC stuff was pretty cool. Yeah, the graphics are great. Yeah, the voice acting is stellar. But everything else is either underwhelming, overwhelming, or just stupid! What the hell happened in the development process that led to all these poor choices? Rocksteady didn't close out the series in a satisfying way. They just rushed it into an Arkham grave so they could go develop... Hell, I don't know, maybe they're making a Justice League game or something now. I think I felt so compelled to review this game because some of its flaws are so massive, yet avoidable. There is so much wasted potential here, and that's worse than just making a game that's bad. It's a game that's mediocre at best, even though it could have been amazing. If the Batmobile was used sparingly, if the script had like 8 more drafts to iron out all the nonsense, if Harley Quinn wore this the whole game, if the gameplay felt more balanced, if the side missions didn't feel like busy work, if the boss fights didn't suck, if the Riddler segments were actually fun and challenging instead of just tedious, if the mask fit on Batman's face in a way that didn't look horribly tight and uncomfortable, then it would have been a fantastic game. And there is nothing worse than stumbling right before the finish line. On the positive side, there's no way this will be the last Batman game of its kind. I'm sure if a different developer doesn't pick it up, Rocksteady will start a new series that borrows design elements from this one. And I'm really excited to see where the Telltale series goes after its first season. I just wish this one had turned out differently, because I love the Arkham games. They're some of my absolute favorites. And I feel like it's a series that deserved better than to end up like this. Keep in mind, if this is your favorite game ever, for whatever reason, That's totally fine. My opinion is not fact, and you aren't wrong if you like things about this game. Let's just skip all the "no man, this game's perfect, you're just a hater, bro" comments. I can't afford to lose any more brain cells, we're down to double digits. Now, with that being said, is Arkham Origins actually that bad? Now that I think about it, that one had some neat stuff in it despite being kind of cheaply made. Shit, I'm gonna go fucking play that one again.
Oh, guess that's the end of the Arkham Knight.